Hi guys, I'm Carly. Welcome to Point Blank's Plugin of the Week. Point Blank is a global electronic music school with courses in London, LA, online and Ibiza. Just head to our website, pointblankmusicschool.com, where you can check out a range of our courses, which include DJing, music production, sound engineering and radio. And until the end of the month, we've got 20% off all of our online courses. Woohoo! So just a reminder, guys, that we're streaming live. So if you do have any questions for JC along the way, please feel free to post them in the comment section of our YouTube video. Hi, JC.
Hello, Carly.
How are you doing?
I'm very good, and you?
Good. So today we're going to be checking out the BX Subsynth from Brainworks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. So it's a subharmonic synthesizer.
Yeah, generates it's based on a hardware called the DBX 120.
Okay, and from what I understand, it's designed to, I guess, add more low end to your mixes.
Yeah, it generates harmonics that may not have been there in the first place.
Okay, cool.
So, I mean, a typical example, I mean, it's used by producers, mixers, sound designer, Foley.
Yeah.
And a typical example would be like on sound effects, for example.
Okay.
If we were to take an explosion.
Whoa,
let's take an explosion. So you've got here an explosion. I've just taken it an Apple loop. I've on purpose chosen one that has not too much of that deep rumble.
Yeah.
It's an explosion, but you know, I don't think it's
not bad.
I don't think it's Hollywood material yet.
Until now.
Until now, you put it on. That's our plugin. Let's have a listen to the same thing. Now we're getting all those subs. For those of you who are watching this video, might be a good idea to have headphones or check on decent speakers that kind of give you full range, because you won't hear on those small speakers.
Yeah.
So how does it work? I mean, basically, sometimes when you want to boost the bottom end on the bass, on the synths, on the drums, sometimes, let's say, the sub, it's roughly somewhere between 20 and 60. That's what I call sub.
Okay.
That kind of warm. I mean, people may disagree with that, but for me, that's kind of the area of frequencies where you're getting the stuff and the cone of your speakers are starting to move. And sometimes you want to add that around that frequency range, and it's not there in the first place. And then you're kind of like boosting the EQ, and it becomes a bit muddy just because you're doing it with an EQ, but you're boosting something that is not quite there. So you're moving stuff about, but it's not quite doing you the stuff. So how does it work? The DBX 120, and that's not a DBX 120, what Brainworks have done, they've based it on there, but they've added more to it.
Okay.
And it's super flexible, it works a treat. You have it on both platforms through Plugin Alliance, but it was originally, I believe, released on the UAD platform.
Okay.
So whichever platform you guys are using, it's available on both. Worth checking the demo. You've got both formats.
I think it's 14 days.
On whether it's UAD or Plugin Alliance, they will give you 14 days, plenty of time to try it out. For those of you bass fanatics, I think you'll definitely enjoy that.
I think it's about 115 quid to buy.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the hardware used to be about 200, and it's still available now. That was based on the XP, DBX 120 XP, but now DBX are still doing the 120A, I believe.
Okay.
It's a 1U hardware thing. So let's have a listen maybe of how it works, and let's take another project, for example. I'm going to use it quite traditionally here to start with on this project, and we're going to start with the drums. Yeah. So, I mean, typically, that's the kind of stuff. On drums, it can be great. On kick, I personally love it on floor toms as well, to get that really rich, deep sub.
Do you think this works better on live drums?
It works on any drums, but obviously, if you're an electronic music producer and you put your beat together, if your kick is a bit thin, you're likely to change the sample that you use or whatever, the drum machine that you use, you'll work on that originally. However, if you're a mix engineer and you're being given stem, that's a great way to get the weight without having to go into sound replacer, relaying your own sounds, you know, which more and more I think mix engineers are expected to do. It's part of what you do nowadays. But that's an instant way to to get that low harmonics. So let's have a listen to how it works. And first we're going to have it on this kick drum. Okay. So as a mono, we'll talk about more the mid and sub, but as a mono, what do you need to do? So I'm going to turn off everything down to go through the process. That's your gain input and output going into the plugin, and that's your mix. So that's basically wet and dry. So how much at 0 you don't hear the effects, and you're blending in the effects full on at 100%. Now, the first thing you need to look at is those little screws. You've got basically the synthesize frequency, the part of the synth up there, has 3 frequencies. The original hardware only had 2, so they've added 1. And you've got a range of frequency, 24 to 36, 36 to 56, 56 to 80.
Okay.
So you can boost each frequency range. How does it work? It basically adds an octave lower to what you send.
Right.
So if you send 100, something that has 100, some content at 100 hertz, that means you can generate something at 50, an octave lower. So here, as you can see, it goes up to 80 hertz. That means it's going to pick up anything up to 160 to generate that 80.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you have a sound above that, it's not really going to pick it up. So you've got to be aware that it's straight away, it's to be used for sources that have some low end, but not that very low end that you need to recreate. Yeah?
Okay.
That makes sense, I think. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get those to light up, those trim buttons. And you're going to see those little lights here. Do I have to write? Okay, that's not the right. That's why I'm not getting anything. So let's open it up.
By the way, thanks for your questions, guys. Keep them coming. We're just going to get to them a little later on.
Okay, so I'm going to bring down everything. I didn't realize there was a bypass, 2 bypass. So here you've got a trim. What is the trim? It's basically what you send into it. You've got to make sure that each frequency are picking it up. What happens, you may have a bass line, for example, where that region is being picked up by the sidechain, but not on the other one. So the trim is to make sure you need to aim to have those lights, the white one next to the, to light up. Here, they're pretty much lighting up without me having to boost the trim.
Okay.
But if I didn't have enough going into it, that's the first thing you need to look at. Make sure that you've got enough going in, okay? That is the general output for the entire thing. I haven't boosted anything, so we're still not going to hear anything at that stage, yeah? I'm going to reset all of it, because I think it's quite interesting to go through it all. So I'm going to start bringing some 50 to 80. And then I'm going to start bringing some 32. And then let's see what's happened. You hear the bottom end that. I'm going to overdo it on purpose so we can really hear. You see how that generates without.
Nice.
So suddenly you can generate that low end. So obviously you're going to tune each frequency as you need them. So I'm getting a little bit already there. So it works really nicely. On top of it here, you've got a filter as part of the edge. The filter is like a high-pass filter, and with the resonance at where it's peaking. And I think the filter goes from 20 to 60 here. So what it means is that I could help shaping a little bit more by putting a filter, let's say, at about 25. So I'm getting rid of anything below 25, but at the same time, I'm getting a little boost at 25. So that can help really shaping your bottom end as well, even further. And we hear that little resonance here, really helping. And we've got a low-end boost as well, or attenuation, that wasn't in the original, and that boost at around 55 Hertz. So you really can, without, and we're getting the weight of it. So that's one example. I personally think that it works a treat on floor tom as well. So I think I've got some floor tom playing somewhere here.
Would you mostly just use this on individual tracks, or can you put it on your master bus as well?
I've never used it on the master. Traditionally, I've always used it on separate element, again, to get that kind of stuff. But I've read some people do put it on their master, DJs, for example. But I think you've got to be careful, because really to get that kind of clean bottom end, and the point of that is to get that really rich, deep, clean bottom end, but still keeping it really simple and clean. On a track, if you start putting it across too many elements, you're probably going to have a problem where things are going to start to rumble and not being clean. So, you know, in the sub, there's so many parts that you can have working in the sub. So let's look on this tom. It's a floor tom, not doing much to me, but let's bring it in the picture now.
Oh yeah.
See straight away. I mean, I love it on floor tom. I mean, I think on drums, for me, it works really great when the tempo are quite slow, because there's a lot of space to play with. The faster the music, and depending on the attitude, you don't always want sub bass. You know, I think we all, I mean, I love sub bass, but there's a time and place for it, you know. But straight away, I mean, you've noticed just doing that on our drums. Let's go to the mixer quickly. Where are my drums? Having it on the kick now and the toms.
That's nice.
We're really getting a lot more of that. What we could do also is, let's try it on the bass, just to see a little bit on that track. I've done it on live bass quite often. See on the bass here. Again. Down. Yeah. Really getting that weight. So let's see how that works in the track. I'm putting back the DI. So typically the DI on the bass is going to give you the kind of strings and the notes, and the amp, you're getting that kind of roundness. So I've put it on the amp for now as an example. Let's have a listen. Everything is so much fat. You know what I mean? Those three elements, we're getting that kind of So amazing way to extend your frequency range.
Yeah, nice.
You know, you're extending your sound, you're taking it much lower. So absolutely loving it. Let's have another example here, for example. Here I've got, for example, a 303,
Acid.
which is quite thin. Without it. Now what you're noticing is that on some of the notes that are playing higher, it's not being picked up by the subthins, because, like I said, it of what needs to go in to generate the lower. So quite interesting stuff. But yeah, let's play a little bit with.
Chris has asked, are there any other VST subsynths like this, and have you checked them out? Are there any that kind of do a similar thing?
think they are. I think they are. They work differently though.
Right.
It's all based on psychoacoustic to kind of trick your ear that suddenly things are getting there. But for me, I've always felt the DBX, because I've used the hardware, I always felt it was probably the cleanest one and the more precise, just because of the free range. But there may be some, yeah.
And Rob Deluxe has asked, can the same effect be achieved using a combination of stock DAW plugins? He's an Ableton user, but you're not an Ableton user.
No, but that doesn't matter, because stock plugins are, we're talking about compressor,
Yeah.
EQ, that kind of stuff. I don't think so, because again, it works in a different way. It's kind of generate something that is not there in the first place. So like I was saying, I don't believe that an EQ is going to do that, unless the frequency is there in the first place and you can push it up with an EQ. Yeah. Shall we go to a little drum loop?
Go for it.
So let's go back to how it works. Okay, so I've told you there was one thing that is really cool that Brainworks do. Brainworks are quite specialist in the kind of mid-side thing. So here you can use it as a mid-side, and when you use it as a mid-side, you're only getting the sub in the middle, because we shouldn't really have sub on the side, on the left and right information of your program. It can create a lot of problem, and if you print to vinyl, things like that, that's really going to be a disaster. The sub and the bass generally is nice to have it in the middle and have the rest of the things going on the side. So you can use it in both mid-side or stereo. For drums, bass, use as a mid-side. For the effects like we've done on the explosion here, you can totally use it on stereo because you want the rumble goes everywhere. You know, it has a different purpose. But let's go on the drums. So I'm using it as a mid-side. I've got my input, my mix. You've got a mono maker, which is based on the pattern by Brainworks. So here you can decide until 150, I'm going to keep everything in the middle. Not only I'll have not only the sub, but also anything above the sub, keeping it in the middle. And you've got a stereo width. So you can, on top of it, add those features that you wouldn't have on the original. So here, I'm generating some sub for this drum beat. Let's have a listen. Without. See the kick straight away, what it does to it. With the toms, everything becomes so much fatter and so much nicer. So, you know, play with the frequency, tune them correctly. Be careful with the very low end, because too much of that can really mess up your bottom end instead of improving it. Okay. Another feature that it has is this edge, which is kind of a saturation compression a little bit, kind of. So the squeeze is a kind of a compression, and the drive is a bit of saturation. It's not supposed to be completely for saturating things, but it can bring a bit of character. Plus, you've got a low cut and a high cut, which only works on this section. So that means only the signal between those two frequencies will get squeezed, effectively. If you go off on each side, you're compressing the whole thing. It's a subtle compressor, but works really nicely. So here I'm cranking it, I'm putting a bit of drive. You've got two modes, smooth and harsh. With harsh, you're going to really hear the distortion. You hear?
Yeah.
There's a place for that sometimes. You may want to do that. I don't think it works on that one. And again, I really love that, the tight punch, you know, the fact that it's a trick that mix engineers and mastering engineers use a lot, you know, where you cut a certain frequency and you boost there, so you're bringing a focus on that particular frequency, getting rid of what was before. Again, really useful to get your tighten up. So you see what it does to the drum straight away. Without.
We've got another question.
Yeah.
Does this plugin, I guess he wants some clarification, does this plugin create low frequencies which don't already exist in the sound itself?
Yeah.
And that's right.
Yeah, it's generating subharmonics based on what you're sending.
Cool.
So I repeat again, very important, is it's an octave lower below. So if you send 150, you can generate 75 in that, using that part of the synth. And you can use both to fine-tune how it's going to work. So yeah, that's the overview. Do we have any other question or not for now?
I think that's about it for now. Yeah, thank you very much.
No, pleasure.
Yeah, wicked. Cool.
That's yes. I mean, try it out by any means. You know, it works on really a lot of stuff on synth. But again, be careful where there's a temptation of putting it everywhere, and suddenly it's defeating the purpose of what you were trying to achieve, which is a clean, rich, deep bottom end.
Cool.
So yeah.
Thank you very much, and thanks for joining us, guys. We will see you soon with another plugin of the week. In the meantime, feel free to head to our website, pointblankmusicschool.com, where you can find out more about our courses. Bye.